Ready to ditch all the doom scrolling for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Let's dive into something refreshingly optimistic.
Yeah, sounds good.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into Go Planet Channon, a book that's got people talking.
It really has.
It's about interconnectedness, rethinking leadership, and how we can leverage what we already have for a brighter future.
You know, it's fascinating how Go Planet Channing goes beyond just like feel-good statements, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It digs into the practical stuff, like really analyzes the resources we've got, skills, institutions, movements, and shows how they're actually tools for building that better future.
Yeah, I love that. And the book jumps right in, saying, forget the old maps. We live in a hyper-connected world.
Right.
Outdated maps with their divisions. They don't reflect the reality of interconnected communities, global communication, shared experiences. We're already connected.
And you can see Channon's background in strategic design shining through here.
Oh, how so?
He doesn't just tell you about this interconnectedness, he makes you see it. He compares the world to a dazzling Christmas tree.
Wow.
Yeah, radiant with potential, all interconnected, not some fragmented thing on a map.
Okay, I like that visual. But here's the thing. If we're already so interconnected, why does it feel so hard to tackle global issues together?
Right, right. And that's exactly where his critique of traditional leadership comes in.
Sure.
He says these long-standing structures, governments, well-intentioned as they may be,
Sure.
they're just not built for the kind of global cooperation we need for a sustainable future.
So is he saying we just abandon these structures? What's the alternative?
Okay, so Channon, he proposes this fascinating shift. Governments, they don't spearhead global change. They become, get this, maintenance departments.
Maintenance departments. Okay.
Yeah. Their main job is to support the real change makers.
And who are those?
Us. Individuals and communities actually out there shaping a better world.
That's a pretty bold idea.
Yeah.
But can we really expect individuals to handle these huge global challenges?
And that, my friend, is where this amazing concept of the planetary citizen comes in.
The planetary citizen.
Okay. Channon envisions an identity that goes beyond borders, beyond geography.
Okay.
It's all about global awareness, a reverence for all life, a deep commitment to a healthy planet.
Hold on. Is planetary citizen a real thing, or is this like aspirational?
He says it's already happening. Like, look at cultural creatives, right? These individuals who are all about sustainability, social responsibility, that's evidence. This isn't some pipe dream. It's rooted in how people are already connecting and acting.
So it's not about waiting for some big global entity to swoop in and fix everything.
Yeah.
It's more about fostering individual initiative, collective action, all driven by shared values.
You got it. And this ties right into his point that we've already got the knowledge, the institutions. The key is repurposing them, aiming them at these shared goals we're talking.
Repurposing. I like that.
Yeah.
Can you give us a concrete example? How does this theory become action?
Okay, picture this. The military. Instead of warfare, their mission becomes global restoration.
Okay.
Channon calls them Earth battalions.
Earth battalions.
Yeah. Military logistics, manpower, all that. Directed towards reforestation, ocean cleanup, environmental monitoring.
Oh, wow. That's a powerful image. I can get behind that. Trading tanks for trees. It's almost poetic in a way.
He's also really big on the power of culture to drive change. And that's something we often miss, you know, in those typical policy discussions.
Yeah, for sure.
To create lasting change, Channon says we need to tap into storytelling, rituals, shared experiences. It can't just be data and reports.
So ditch the PowerPoint presentations and gather around the campfire. Less data analysis, more drumming circles.
In a way, yeah. He even uses the Burning Man Festival as an example.
Wait, Burning Man.
Huh?
That temporary city in the desert, all that art and self-expression, that's a model for global change.
Look, it's not about literally replicating Burning Man, but about the principles behind it. Channon sees it as this temporary autonomous zone, a powerful example of community, self-expression, even environmental responsibility.
Interesting.
It's about trying new ways of being together, ways that can influence us even after the event is over.
That's a cool way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
These alternative spaces as incubators for change.
Yeah.
But, and maybe this is a big but, it all sounds very utopian. How do we realistically go from where we are now to these global transformations? What does it actually look like on the ground?
$1 million question, right?
Yeah.
Channon calls them strategic acts of consequence, these concrete steps toward this vision.
Strategic acts of consequence. Okay, I'm intrigued.
But to get into those, we'll have to dive into the next part of the book.
This idea of strategic acts of consequence.
Right.
Let's unpack that and how they could actually drive real-world change when we come back for part 2. So we're left with this question. How do we actually turn these inspiring ideas from Go Planet Shannon into actual, real-world change?
Well, Shannon tackles that head on. He gets into what he calls strategic acts of consequence.
Okay, strategic acts of consequence. So like deliberate, impactful actions that can, propel us towards this vision.
Exactly. And one of the most interesting ones is how he talks about repurposing existing institutions. Like, instead of trying to build everything from scratch, why not use what we've already got?
Okay, so repurposing.
Yeah.
It's like working smarter, not harder.
Right. The military, like we were talking about, but also think corporations, religious organizations, even the arts.
Okay, so repurposing.
Yeah.
But how do you actually make that happen? I mean, how do you convince, a huge company focused on profits to suddenly put the planet first?
Well, Shannon recognizes it's not about, these overnight revolutions, right? It's about finding and nurturing what he calls secret loves.
Secret loves. Okay, now I'm really intrigued.
It's those hidden desires within people, within organizations, that actually already align with a more sustainable, interconnected world.
Secret loves. That's like an interesting way to put it. So it's about uncovering those existing values and using those to drive change from within.
Exactly. He uses the example of how much people crave real community connection, something we've kind of lost in these individualistic societies we live in now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So Shannon says companies can tap into that, create workplaces that are all about collaboration, shared purpose, belonging.
So it's not just changing what we do, but how we do it, creating spaces and structures that actually reflect those values we're talking about.
Exactly. He even suggests that instead of always focusing on productivity and efficiency, businesses could try cultivating, creativity, personal growth, even something he calls sacred play.
Sacred play. Okay, we got to unpack that one. What does he mean by sacred play in this context?
So Shannon believes that humans, we thrive when we're engaged in activities that spark joy, curiosity, a sense of wonder.
Okay.
He sees a future where work isn't this drag, It's more like play, challenging and engaging, but ultimately fulfilling.
I love that idea. Shifting away from the daily grind to work that's actually exciting, fulfilling. But this all feels very big picture, What about regular people like me? What can we do in our own lives to contribute to this vision?
Shannon's big on this. He says the most profound changes happen at the individual level, through our everyday choices. It's about making sure our actions actually match the world we want to see.
Walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly. He wants us to imagine our ideal world and then take these small but significant steps to get there. He's a big believer in leading by example, showing what a planetary citizen actually does and hopefully inspiring others to do the same.
So what could those actions look like for the average person? Give some concrete examples.
He suggests things like maybe you start being mindful of where you shop, supporting sustainable businesses, or actively looking for communities, groups of people who share your values and getting involved. He even talks about redesigning your living spaces to reflect your values.
Redesigning our living spaces. Now, that's an interesting one. What's he talking about there?
So, Shannon, he dedicates a good chunk of the book to this concept of designing for expanded states of being. It's about creating environments, our homes, workplaces, even public spaces that nurture well-being, creativity, a deeper connection to ourselves and the world around us.
So it's not about those cookie-cutter apartments anymore, right? It's about spaces that bring us joy, inspiration, even a sense of connection with others.
Yeah, like a little Marie Kondo meets global consciousness.
Huh. I like that.
He talks about combining ancient wisdom traditions, like Feng Shui, with modern architectural ideas to make spaces that optimize energy flow and just make us feel better overall. He really believes our environment shapes how we think, how we feel, how we act.
This is about way more than just saving the planet. It's about building a world where we can all actually thrive. But it's hard to imagine that jump, right? Going from worrying about climate change and inequality to a world where sacred play is just like normal life.
And Shannon gets that. He doesn't pretend these challenges don't exist, but he's optimistic about our ability to create something better. He argues we've got the resources, the technology, and most importantly, the imagination to do it. It's about shifting our perspective, really understanding that we're all connected, and stepping into that role of planetary citizen he talks about.
It's a big task. But for our listeners who are feeling inspired right now, what's one tangible thing they could do, maybe even today, to move toward that Go Planet Channon future?
I would say think about one part of your life, could be your job, your relationships, how you connect with nature. Then ask yourself, what's one small change I can make starting today to align this part of my life with those values of a planetary citizen?
Love that. Simple but powerful. And that's a great place to pause. We'll be right back to wrap up our deep dive into Go Planet Channon and explore that crucial transition he outlines in the last part of the book. All right, so we're back. And we left off talking about this really compelling idea of moving towards a future where, well, sacred play is just, a natural part of life, not some far-off dream.
Yeah, and Shannon, he gives us this framework for actually picturing that shift. He calls it the green powers of 10.
Green powers of 10. Catchy. So it's like a timeline, a prediction of how things will unfold.
More like a way to think about the stages of this potential global transformation. Not a crystal ball, but a helpful lens.
Okay, I like that. So walk us through it. What are these phases?
He lays out 3 main periods. The first one, and he suggests we're smack dab in the middle of it right now, is natural security.
Natural security. We're
Yeah.
living it. So what defines this phase?
It's all about tackling those urgent threats to the planet, right? Climate change, dwindling resources, all that social and political instability we see. Channon says this requires a united global effort. He even compares it to how nations mobilize during wartime.
Wow.
But this time, the war is to protect and heal the planet itself.
Makes you think,
Yeah.
right? And we were talking earlier about those Earth battalions. That feels like it fits right into this natural security idea.
100%. This is where repurposed institutions come in, bringing their resources, their know-how to reach those shared goals of a sustainable, secure world.
Makes sense. Deal with the most urgent stuff first. Create that solid base. Then what? What happens once we've got that natural security?
That's where things get really interesting. The second phase, he calls it advanced cultivation.
Advanced cultivation. I like it. Sounds like thoughtful progress, a real deepening of our bond with the planet. How does that actually play out?
Think permaculture, but on a global scale. And I don't just mean sustainability, but regeneration. We're talking about systems that not only meet our needs, but actually make life on Earth better. Channon talks about bioregional design, communities that are structured around their ecosystems, and technology. It's got to work with nature, not try to control it.
So it's not concrete jungles anymore, right? It's human societies existing as part of these thriving ecosystems.
Right. And tech that serves nature, not the other way around.
Love it.
He also sees advanced cultivation as a time for bringing back ancient wisdom, blending it with what we know now, the best of both worlds for a future that's both harmonious and abundant.
Ancient wisdom meets cutting-edge innovation. It's like those utopian societies you read about, but in real life.
It's definitely a vision that gets you thinking, right? But the cool thing about Channon is he's so grounded in practicality. It's not just daydreaming. He's giving us a roadmap.
And that leads us to the final stage, sacred play. The planet's thriving. We've got this deep connection to nature. Now we can truly embrace the joy of just existing. But what's that look like, really? Help us picture it.
All right, imagine this. Work. It's not just about surviving, paying the bills. It's creative expression, something that truly fulfills you and contributes to something bigger. Technology brings us closer to nature, to each other, makes those experiences richer. Art, music, play, they're not just hobbies, they're woven into everything.
It's like reclaiming that childlike wonder, right? That joy of creating, connecting. But it's hard to reconcile that vision with, well, everything going on right now. Poverty, conflict, the state of the environment. It's heavy stuff.
Channon doesn't sugarcoat it. He knows the challenges are real. But he believes in our ability to build a better future. We have the resources, the tech, but more importantly, he says we have the imagination to do it. It's about shifting our perspective, recognizing that interconnectedness we were talking about. It's about stepping into that role of planetary citizen.
Powerful stuff. And that's what makes this book so impactful, right?
Yeah.
It's not just theory, it's a guidebook, a reminder that our actions matter.
Exactly. Every step we take, even small ones, if they're aligned with that shared vision, they can create meaningful change.
So well said. This has been amazing. A big thank you to our expert for diving into Go Planet Channon with us today, a book that really challenges us to rethink our place in the world and embrace our power to create a brighter future together.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, keep those questions coming. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those big questions, and most importantly, keep the conversation going.